Hi BookTube, it's Chelsea the Reading Outlaw. Like I mentioned in my April wrap-up, I wasn't entirely sure how quickly I was going to be able to get this video to you guys because I had to go in for an outpatient surgical thing, but that went way better than I thought it would. So without further ado, I am here to give you guys my May TBR. First things first, there are a couple of ebooks that I plan on finishing up in the month of May. I'll put the covers right over here. The first one is Changeless by Gail Carriger. This is the second book in the Parasol Protectorate series, which I'm reading and absolutely loving. If you've been watching any of my last recent videos, you've already heard about these books and the fact that I heard about them over at Lindsay Ray's channel, and I'll read anything Lindsay Ray recommends. They're about Alexia Terabody, who is soulless in a world where having an abundance of soul makes you either a vampire or a werewolf. And so because of her soullessness, she can kind of counteract the powers of the vampires and the werewolves in London, which is where the book is set. It's a steampunk 18th century London. And so, yeah, it's just about kind of her adventures dealing with all these supernatural creatures. The writing is hilarious. There are lots of fun, sexy times, and all of her characters are really entertaining. I'm really, really loving this series so far. So I'm hoping to finish up the second one in May. Also on ebook from Scribd, I am hoping to finish All Joy and No Fun, The Paradox of Modern Parenthood by Samantha Power, I believe. I will look it up, and the cover, of course, will be right here. But this is a nonfiction book about kind of the way modern parenting is set up through various forces, economical, sociological, political, and how that can create this dichotomy in the research where people are claimed to be, that's the most, right? Having kids makes marriages more stressful, makes all of life more stressful, can be a burden and a hamper, but these, it's also one of the experiences that people claim give them the most joy in their life, and kind of how that can be, and what's, how we all, or how society as a whole kind of creates that effect. It's really, really interesting. As a new parent, I'm like reading a lot of it and like underlining it and being like, yeah, that's true. That's like spot on. So yeah, it's really good. I'm really enjoying it. I won't say it's been like revolutionary in terms of like revealing anything, but it's, it's always nice to have a good, nice, well-written, kind of conversational nonfiction book to add to the rotation. On to the other books I plan to finish in May, the physical books. The first one is Shards of Honor by Lois McMaster Bujold. Again, if you've been watching any of my videos lately, you will have seen this book. I've been reading it off and on, dabbling in and out of it. As you can see, I'm still only about halfway through it. It's really good. It has nothing to do with the story. I just kind of have a little bit of book ADD at the moment. And so I'm kind of dipping in and out of a bunch of things all at once. And this one has just kind of gotten pushed a little bit further down the list. But I'm really excited to finish it up and kind of figure out exactly how this relationship between the two main characters is going to result in the main character for the rest of the Vorkosigan saga. I'm just really, really liking it. It's my first kind of more heavy sci-fi than fantasy book. It's kind of military sci-fi, but I'm, at first I was leery of it, but it's suiting me well. I'm really, really enjoying it. And I'm excited that there are so many of these books. I'll kind of be able to just carry on with them over time. Next up, I've already started and want to finish Here There Be Dragons, the first in the, The Chronicles. There we go. The Chronicles of the Imaginarium Geographica. This is a book I first heard about from Sam at Novels and Nonsense. It was in my library loot a couple weeks ago. It is basically about these three boys who kind of inadvertently come to possess the only map to the Imaginarium Geographica. That's what the map is called. It's also the names of it's okay. I'm getting ahead of myself. The Imaginarium Geographica is the map of the archipelago of dreams. Basically, it's this land where all of the mythical creatures and stories that we have in our world, like that's where they come from. Elves, dwarves, trolls, talking animals, King Arthur, dragons, all of these things, they come from this land. And three boys come into the possession of the map of this land, and that kind of makes them the de facto, not rulers, but kind of potential saviors of this land. It's like a swashbuckling, good old-fashioned YA, adventure, fantasy. I'm breezing through it. I started it last night, and it's kind of hard to see the little Dog ear. Yes, I dog ear books. You know, go ahead. Yeah, I'm sure lots of you are crying at the moment already, but yes, I dog ear books. When I can't find a piece of paper to stick inside them, I dog ear them. But I'm about that far and I only started it last night, so it's a really easy read and I'm absolutely loving it. I'm really excited to finish this one and maybe even start the second one in May. I'm also planning on starting We All Looked Up by Tommy Wallach, I believe is how you say it. This is the story of basically a bunch of teens who find out it's the end of the world. I don't know if they know. Yeah, 2 months. So basically, the rapture is coming. They've got 2 months. They're just a bunch of teens. It's got a little bit of a breakfasty club vibe. Like the inside flap describes how like one of them's the slut, one of them's the athlete, one of them's the nerd. But as they find out the world is ending, they all kind of gather together. I checked this out because I saw it. Kelly Jensen over at Book Riot does a lot of their YA stuff. And so I keep a lot of really good tabs on whatever she recommends as a YA librarian. And this one she's been touting. I also really like the fact that on the back, Andrew Smith blurbs it and he compares it to Stephen King's The Stand, which is one of my favorite books of all time. So any time that I can get one of my favorite adult books to cross with a new young adult book and have it blurred by Andrew Smith, I'm all over it. It's not super huge. I think my library that I work at, well, I know that we've ordered a copy, but I think it's due in before the month is over. So if that's true, I'll probably return this one and take that one so that I don't get any fines for it. But yes, We All Looked Up by Tommy Wallach. And the last novel that I hope to finish this month is The Goblin Emperor by Catherine Addison. I don't know much about this other than it was nominated for the Hugos and it wasn't on the Sad Puppy or Rabid Puppy slate. For those of you who don't know what that means, I'll link to a couple of really good videos down below kind of talking about it, as well as a series of blog posts George R. R. Martin wrote about it. Basically, it's a kind of a scandal that's been happening the last few years that's kind of come to a head at the Hugo Awards that involves the way they allow voting and slate voting and block voting and whether it was fair, all these things. But this is one of the novels that is nominated for Best Novel. It's a standalone, which was also another reason that I wanted to pick it up because I am up to my neck in series at the moment and don't know if I could start another one. But yeah, it's basically about a goblin son who's like sixth in line for the throne, but because of a tragedy, he's, he's the, Prince Regent, he's getting ready to be crowned and all about him learning what to do, how to become emperor, how to navigate this new kind of courtly world that he never thought he'd have to navigate. I don't know much else about it. I'm really, really excited to get into it. The fact that it's nominated for the Hugo, I think speaks really highly of it. So we'll see. And now on to graphic novels, because you guys know me. I can't, not have any graphic novels. I have a bunch of graphic novels coming up in a library loot video that's going to be posted soon, like a bunch. So just hold on to your hats, but I'm thinking I probably will save those for like a big block of reading right at the beginning of June because that's when summer reading starts at the library and we are going to be busy. So I'm going to kind of put those aside until then. But for now, for May, I want to read Rutabaga the Adventure Chef Volume 1. This book, I think I first saw about on Novels and Nonsense, Sam's channel, but I could be wrong. But this is like the most adorable graphic novel I have seen in so long. It's a kid's graphic novel. It's about a chef named Rutabaga who's kind of traveling these fantastical lands, having adventures, telling stories, looking for foods. And it just looks absolutely adorable. The writing style, it's hilarious. It's one of those books where it's for kids, but there are a couple little like winky little inside jokes, kind of like a Pixar movie. It's adorable. The illustration style is one of the more favorites that I've run across in a very long time. It's not very long. I'm thinking it probably won't take me more than like an afternoon to read it. So I'm kind of squirreling it away for that perfect lazy day in May when I just need something a little refreshing. And then I'm sure you guys are surprised you haven't seen this on my channel yet, but the holds list at my library was ridiculous. And I finally got Saga Volume 4. There are no words. It's Marco, it's Alana. They're still having space adventures. And I am so, so, so excited to find out what happened. I did a little Wikipedia refresher on Volume 3 because it's been a while since I read it. For those of you who don't know what Saga is about, it is basically kind of like Romeo and Juliet, only there's no dying. the Earth and the moon, or a moon and one of the planets are at war, and one of the moon soldiers and one of the planet soldiers like fall in love and have a baby, and they're on the run in space. But it's also about like space pirates and mutineers and authors and stories and so, all these things. It's really, really hard to sum up, but this is the 4th volume, the most recent volume that's out in a collection, and I'm very, very excited. For those of you who've never seen Inside It, here's just like a little glimpse at what some of the art looks like, in case you're still debating. Oh, that's not an appropriate page. In case you're still debating whether or not you want to pick it up, I could not recommend it more highly. And lastly, because this video is getting really long, I won't talk about these titles like individually, but I have volume 9 in The Walking Dead, Here We Remain, volume 10 in The Walking Dead, What We Become, and volume 11 in The Walking Dead, Fear the Hunters. So as you guys can probably tell, or if you saw any of my Goodreads updates from last year, at the end of 2014, I started reading the Walking Dead saga. There are like 27 or something of these graphic novels. My library has pretty much all of them, so I've just been checking them and reading them. That's obviously, I feel like I should have something more intelligent to say than like, yeah, I check out and read the books. But that's, I mean, unless I'm going to go into each one, which will be hella spoilers, because like I said, this is 9, 10, and 11 in like a 25 volume series. The only thing I will say, I wish that they were colored. The covers are full color illustrations, but inside it's only inked in black and white. And it's just not my favorite. If I've done some blog posts about how that makes it kind of hard to tell some of the characters apart in certain scenarios, and it kind of makes it hard to tell all the action that's going on, especially in the really like zombie heavy scenes. But what are you gonna do? It's too late now. I mean, I highly, highly doubt that Charlie Adlard or Cliff Rathburn are going to like take my opinions and go back and color them all in. So, but yep, there you have it. Those 3 will wrap out my May TBR. It's a lot. I may or may not get through all of it. I may get through some of it and decide to sub in some other stuff. We will kind of have to see how the month plays out. As always, you can follow along on my Goodreads to see what I'm actually currently reading at that very moment. And you can always like, comment, subscribe down below. Tell me about if you read any of these, where I should start, if there's something I'm absolutely missing. And of course, I will see you guys around the internet. Bye.